misty, and then that kind of goes away. So I don't know. We definitely got some weather.
Everyone's giving the signal.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
The
Are we
signal.
recording?
We are recording.
Okay.
Recording.
Well, welcome to A Journey on My Mind in the middle of June. And today we are about to enter into a heat wave, just in case you're listening to this sometime when it's not.
Again,
great.
staff meteorologist Kevin Dixon.
That's right. Yes.
It's a thing now.
Just so you know, I hate heat waves. I prefer cold waves.
Any rain in the forecast?
I have no idea.
Okay.
A lady at the grocery told me it's a heat dome.
Oh.
We're about to be in a heat dome.
Does that mean it doesn't move?
I don't know. She suspected that it's the meteorologist trying to just get our attention, that there's not any kind of real dome. But I don't know.
It's better than being in the Thunderdome, which
Yeah.
is
I
a
don't
Mad
know.
Max reference.
That's a great movie.
Well done, Dave. Well done. Dave, Lauren, and Sam. And we're all here together today. And we've got a fun topic.
Yeah.
And but to kick it off, I'm going to throw it to you, Dave. What's the question of the day?
Oh, it is there something that you have wanted to be good at that you're just not good at? Like you'd be like, oh, I'd love to play the guitar, and you're bad at it.
That's one of them.
And I will tell you, my list goes on. And,
Oh, I've got a long list.
I'm good at like two things in life and bad at everything else for the most part.
That makes me feel much better because I was going to say this list is long.
Go
Magic.
pick one.
One that I come back to often, and I think it's because I run into it just in my day-to-day, is kind of what you guys were talking about a little earlier with like at work. You guys are kind of wired this in a similar way, like administrative kind of tasks, and my brain just doesn't work. I just give me people. So like admin or like organizational like that kind of stuff takes a lot more for me to do it.
Same for me. As soon as somebody breaks out a spreadsheet,
Yes.
there's something that, like a little button in my head goes
Yep. I know, it's turned on.
Just go
my narcolepsy kicks in.
right out.
Honestly, I like a good spreadsheet.
I know.
Yeah,
That's
I bet you do.
Which is why I love working with Kev.
I love a good spreadsheet.
So
All
that's
right.
a big one for me.
Yeah.
That's one I run into, I feel like constantly, you know, so.
this whole side of the table is going to agree with
Is
you.
that okay? All right.
That side
One
is
of these
on his
kids
own
is-
little
That's why I'm
island.
over
the
here on the
other.
end of the table. Yeah.
Lauren, what stands out for you?
Okay, I was thinking about this. When I was younger, it was more skills-based stuff. Like, oh, I want to learn how to play the guitar or write poetry better or whatever. And now, as a parent with young kids, it's like, I don't have time for that stuff. It makes me tired to think about it. But the things I want to get better at are more relational. Like, I want to be better at forgiveness. I want to be better at receiving feedback.
She goes
Wow,
deep
that's
here.
good.
Yes,
Like-
yes.
Being
Yeah.
present with my kids. It's like all relational because I'm too tired
good.
to have any skills.
There's that.
Being a parent.
Yeah.
I was thinking about this week because we went to a Sounds game and someone was saying, have you ever played baseball? And I was like, yeah, for 8 years I played baseball.
Yeah.
I was at the 53rd percentile for, you know, I mean, like I was
Yes.
exactly average.
Average, right.
Somewhere between 48th and 53rd percentile of baseball for 8 years. And then I think I am at the probably first or below first percentile for basketball. I'm probably honestly the worst basketball player. Yes, I don't know. It's something I went to a school that was like a big basketball school.
Yeah.
And honestly, I would love to play. I am the most flat-footed shooter in the world. I'm the worst shooter in the world. I'm bad at every single part of basketball.
Okay.
So that's
All right.
one for me for sure.
That breaks my heart.
I know.
I'm sorry
I
to
wish
hear
I
that.
could, because
Like,
when people are like, "Hey,
makes me
let's play a
sad
little
for you,
basketball,"
Dave.
I always kind of get cringy inside because I'm like, "This is not going to
You
gonna
have
be-
no
embarrassed.
idea.
Not only am I going to not be good, it's going to be cringy looking. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? Like
Yeah.
it's like the guy that you're like,
you're
"Oh,
shooting opposite hand the
right."
whole
It's like
time.
all
Yeah.
like
it looks awkward,
weirdly
weird.
spastic and
Yeah.
stuff. Yeah.
This is
Yeah.
a little off subject, but I'd say one of the cringiest things I've ever seen you do is
Oh, yes.
a virtual reality game. So I've seen this video of a friend of ours who's this
We
young
love you, Dave.
guy.
I know what you're going to say.
Okay, super athletic. He's playing this VR game, and he's like, wham, 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 you know, doing it. And there's a video of Dave doing it. And it's like,
I look like I have. I look like I have a neurodegenerative disorder. I do. I like that really slow
hilarious.
moving and
just the
turning
comparison
slow.
of you and of him
Because he's all
is
going like
hilarious.
doing all this stuff.
Really funny.
That's
Yeah.
amazing.
so good.
For sure.
I need to watch it again now. Saying that,
Imagine
we will post
that.
it.
That as a basketball player.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's me. Yeah.
That hurts my heart a little bit.
I'm up.
Yeah. What do you think?
You see, I'm sitting here vacillating between about 20 of them.
Pick a good one.
I'll pick the one that probably is the most frustrating. Let's go with that. I have tried golf many, many times. I've taken lessons. I've played for, like, okay, the guy says you just got to play more. Okay, so I play a lot. You know, for the life of me. For the life of me.
You can't get
You
it
can't
past
get it
the
down.
the windmill. You can't get it past the windmill. Into the clown's mouth.
That's it.
The clown's mouth you always miss. Yeah.
It's the putter. It is. It's,
Your
if I
short
could-
game's no good.
Yeah, the long, And
How about your long game? Not very good either.
It depends on the
Mid-game,
day.
not
Like
so hot.
never together on the same day.
Yeah.
Never.
That's my experience
Never
with golf too.
And so
too.
I haven't played golf
Mine
in
looks
5
like-
years.
Mine looks like a guy hitting the ground with a metal stick.
Okay,
That's what it is. That is golf.
I know, but it looks
Dave's
like
killing
that's
a groundhog
Right.
right there. What's he doing?
Excavating.
Dave's trying to murder a gopher.
I would have felt better. I think I could do that. I think
yeah.
I could kill many gophers.
Yeah.
Oh, clearly.
Yes.
More your style.
That's
So
a
we share
skill
that.
set I have. But
Hilarious.
golf itself.
I think we've learned a lot here
I
already.
have contributed a lot of money to the golfing industry that I wish I could have back.
Yeah.
Aw.
Yes. And golf balls to the woods and to the lakes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes. I am. Oh. If there is a water hazard on a hole, could be like 10 yards in.
Behind you.
Yeah.
Like a magnet.
It's like the
There's a
ball
penalty.
is attracted to the water. Anyway.
It's a gift.
It is. Somebody doesn't. Yeah. Anyway, that's golf. Yes, golf is that thing.
Okay.
Okay. But this does kind of fit into our topic for the day.
Big time.
Unfortunately. No, I don't have a growth mindset at all about golf. I have a feeling about golf.
So we're going to talk about growth and fixed mindsets.
Fixed. Yes.
So this is a really cool concept. I love this topic. We could even extend this past today if we
Okay,
want to.
cool.
Yeah.
This is a good one. This
Yeah.
would be a one that you want people to hear.
Okay.
Right?
Yeah.
This
I
is
want
one
them to
you
hear all
want
these, actually,
people to
but yeah.
actually listen to.
Yeah. Hey, dear listener,
Yes.
share it with your friend.
Yeah.
So why don't we cue it up and
Cue it up.
we'll talk
Okay.
about what the concept is,
Yeah.
and then we'll talk about why it's a cool thing for us to be
Okay.
talking about.
Good deal.
So there's a woman named Carol Dweck, which is a weird
That's
name.
how you say the last name.
D-W-E-C-K.
That's not how I
Dweck.
said it.
Right. We
And
won't
we
go.
won't go there.
Yeah. It's a weird name.
Yeah.
But she's a super smart woman who is a professor at Stanford, and she came up with this concept and has done tons of research on it, and other people have done tons of research on it. And the idea is that people have either a growth or fixed mindset. And here's what that means. A fixed mindset is somebody who in a particular area or kind of in lots of areas thinks this is the hand I'm dealt, right? I'm this level of intelligent. I am this level of talented. I am this level, you fill in the blank. And a growth mindset is, well, I'm not very good at that, so I have to work harder at it. Or I'm pretty good at it, and if I work harder, I could get maybe great at it.
Yeah.
And what she finds is that even if you match people for their ability, like you take kids and give them an IQ test or similar thing, and one kid has a growth mindset in an area and one kid has a fixed mindset in an area, let's say math,
Yeah.
the kid with the growth mindset will do better.
Wow.
So it even over and above just like normal ability that you can measure, the growth mindset predicts all kinds of good things:
Wow.
academic achievement, career success, relational success, athletic accomplishments, things like that.
Oh, sure.
No, yeah.
Yeah, you got golf.
So hold our first part of the conversation in mind
Yes.
as we talk about
yeah,
this.
yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
And one key point is sometimes a growth and fixed mindset can be sort of pervasive, meaning a person can just generally have a growth mindset.
Okay.
And other times it can be in a particular, you could have a growth mindset in this area
Yep.
and a fixed mindset in another area.
That makes sense.
Right.
Right. What would you add to that? The whole concept. The concept.
The
part.
idea.
Right.
People in terms of their relationships too.
If they're in a growth.
In a growth.
mode.
Yeah, if
Okay.
they're in a growth
Yeah. So I'll do two sides of this, the positive and the negative. On the, let's say there's a kid, we're going to talk kid first and then we'll talk about us next.
Okay.
But let's say there's a kid that says, I'm not good at math, right? Or when he's posed with math problems and he gets to something he doesn't know or can't do well, he sort of gets frustrated and shuts down. Very fixed mindset, right? So with areas where people aren't good, they tend to see the challenge as a humiliation or see it as something that exposes their weakness or exposes their lack of whatever it is.
We're talking golf again, aren't we?
Here we go. It was all about
humiliation.
Intervention, yes. But here's the fascinating thing. It also is true on the positive side. If somebody thinks that they're good at something and they have a fixed mindset, they actually will collapse when that is challenged. And I'll give you an example. Okay. So I have a lot of examples from life, from clients.
Yeah.
This is one I'm disguising the details, but it is essentially true.
Okay.
So there was a kid that I saw as a young adult, but when he was a kid, he was like the guy in the school who was the best guitar player in the school, right? There's always that guy that people are like, he gets up on the talent shows and wows everybody all through middle school. Early prodigy, could do the whole deal with the guitar, shred.
Yeah.
Then he gets into high school. He's the best guy in the school.
Wow.
He bypasses college because he's so good and already booking gigs.
Wow.
And then he's doing the openers for some major acts, right? He's like, there's some big venues. He's the opener. It's like going well.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden, total collapse. Why? Well, because he was in now a strata of people that were all as good as he was.
Yeah.
Right? Before he was the boss. Not literally.
Literally.
We're not talking about, and his name was Bruce Springsteen. But he was the best guy by far.
In every environment.
And now all of a sudden he's in an environment where he's not the best. And it strikes at his concept of himself, which is, I thought I was this great guitar player and I'm just an average guitar player. Well, he's an average guitar player among great guitar players. Right? But that's his experience of it. And so he literally collapsed. And that's why I saw him, is because he fell apart. I've seen that happen with kids that graduate first, second, third in their class. They go to Ivy League school or Duke or somewhere great. And now all of a sudden
they're average.
They're 50th percentile among people who are at the 99th percentile, and they collapse, and they get depressed, and they come home. See, I've seen that every year. I've seen stuff like that. So that's so it cuts both ways. Somebody who's not good at something and kind of assigns that to themselves, like I'm bad at public speaking, I'm bad at whatever, or someone who's good at it. That's the insidious part of it. It doesn't, when someone's really good at something, having a fixed mindset undercuts them and keeps them from being great.
And the alternative to that would be you get in a setting with more high achieving folks and you see their, skill as inspiring, right? That would be the other way.
Growth
That would be the growth mindset. Yeah.
So the idea would be,
I need to work at it. This is more of a challenge to me. Got it.
The contrast with that, like she's saying, is if you have a true growth mindset, not only are you inspired by those people to do better and to kind of be inspired by, but you're also, you said this, that doesn't pose a threat in terms of how you see yourself.
Right.
The truly great people in sports and in music and in whatever kind of performance thing, it's almost always, tell me if this is true, Sam, it's almost always talent meets perseverance. Right? It's talent and hard work. It's never just one.
No.
It's like you got to have some aptitude for it, and then you've got to have some ability to kind of correct.
I've heard some bands that don't have any talent.
I know.
They got a lot of perseverance.
There's luck, dude, that happens,
there's a luck in terms of success, but in terms of just actually doing well at that thing. Would you agree?
100%. And it's interesting. My brain just spinning as you're telling that story, because I can see parts of myself in that. And because I was the kid that growing up in a little town, they're like, just give it up, like you're never, and I was like, no way. So for me it was more perseverance and drive, not talent. Like I joke about it, and I'm joking and it doesn't bother me, and I'm serious, but like for being a signed guitar player in Nashville, I was not I'm not cream of the crop. You know, I was a rhythm guy, but I was okay with that. But yeah, it was perseverance and just like believing and going after it and not giving up is the reason for
growth mindset.
Yeah.
That's it.
With that specifically.
Right.
Yeah.
And that's if you had to pick talent, raw talent, a 10 on 10 scale, or perseverance, growth mindset, 10 on 10 scale, pick this one.
Yeah.
Right. If you had to pick one,
yeah,
like on your video game settings where you pick speed and stamina and all the things.
Dave, I don't play video games.
It's okay. We'll help you through this.
One with growth mindset.
Oh yeah, there it is.
Yeah, you want your biggest slider to be on
the growth mindset.
That's good.
Okay.
Yeah,
that's cool.
Yeah.
It feels like the applications for this with children are pretty clear, right? We teach it in schools, we teach it at home. And
so this is a learned behavior.
Yeah, like I would say my 9-year-old, actually just 2 weeks ago, I said something about, oh, that word is not quite spelled correctly. And she said, it's okay, failure's how you learn. I was like, you clearly learned that at school. I mean, you know, like that they are teaching that word for
it's okay.
word. So we need to teach it. I mean, that's all over all the walls in all her classroom, power of yet, all this like growth mindset stuff's everywhere. But then it's also about how we reinforce them, right? It's not you're reinforcing for the A's, but for good academic behavior and for trying and persevering. I'm so proud of how you stuck with that even when it was hard, right? And then that we're modeling it ourselves and talking about that out loud ourselves as well.
Yeah.
It's good.
Yeah, if you want to
is this where participation trophies came from?
I would say, well, no, I don't think so. No, that was more like out of the self-esteem movement. I feel like I don't know, but
okay, thanks for clearing that up.
But from a parenting standpoint, and not to make it so simple, but if you want to help promote a fixed mindset, you just praise your kid for their ability or their trait, right?
Yeah. Okay.
You're so fill in the blank, smart. You're so talented. You're so this. But if you want to generate a
growth mindset,
I love it when you are working hard at your homework. I love it when you see a problem that you don't know how to do yet and you stick with it. I love it when it kind of the it's okay that you don't know that now, but if you work hard at it, it's kind of the not yet, but
encouraging to keep trying, pressing into it.
And there's a subtlety to that, but it's an important subtlety because the first way of praising a kid just breeds what we talked about earlier, which is the person's like, I'm just good at this.
Right.
And then when they're challenged at it, then that's where it
How
collapses.
new is this thinking? Like this idea?
The 90s maybe?
Oh, I was going to say like early 2000s.
Maybe
but
2000s. Yeah, I
can't
remember when I read her book many years ago, but it's been out for a couple decades.
Because the YouTube that you sent me to, and which sent me into an hour-long YouTube
Kevin
session.
became a 14-year-old boy and staying just on YouTube for like hours at a time.
I had a growth mindset.
There you go.
There is... so dumb. The question they kept like statistically talking about that like 90% of the people or 80% of the people have a fixed mindset. And so what you're describing is very common of people saying, hey, you ought to try this harder, or you should expand your thinking, or you should, but yet people generally don't.
Well,
Is that true? Is it true that it's like most people are a fixed mindset?
Well, I wonder how this butts up against what we also know, which is if you're not great at something sort of naturally, you aren't able to grow in it as much as something that you're sort of gifted at. And so, like, how do you balance that? Because it is true that maybe you shouldn't pedal super, super hard on something you're never going to be that great at.
Right.
How do you think about that? I've always wondered about that.
Yeah.
So there is a massive study that I think the Gallup organization did, and it was like decade long and millions of people. It's like they had all the juice that the Gallup organization can bring in terms of surveying people. And really what they found is this is essentially, and this isn't quite growth fixed mindset, but it's very, very close. They said if someone is good, let's say not good at something, and then they work really hard at it. Let's say they're here, and for those just listening, I'm holding my hand at a spot, and they work at it. They could get up to here, which is a slight improvement, maybe a significant improvement. But if they
You're only
don't
going to be so good.
right. So if you're not great at golf by nature and you work at it, you could improve, but you're not going to improve a lot.
Okay.
But if you're good at something,
That would be me.
by naturally, and you work at it, you're going to grow to here.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Much higher. The takeaway that they had is that the best people are not well-rounded, they're sharp. That's the term they use. So they find the things that they are naturally good at, and then they invest in those things. They don't try to be good at all things.
Okay.
So when we're talking earlier about like, I'm not good at golf and I'm not, that's fine.
Yeah.
You don't need to be, right? It's like you tried it, whatever. So it's not like we have to be, that's a really important clarification that you made or posed, because we're not saying that you must be good at all things and that you must have a growth mindset and invest in all these things.
Right. Because I just was wondering, is that part of why we do have a lot of people with fixed mindset? Is sort of they know that there are some things I am naturally better at and worse at. But I think it's different for me to say, for example, I'm not good at math versus like math is not really my best strength, but I can do it. And if I work at it, I can get better at it. Right. That's like a little nuanced, but.
For me, it was similar
powerful.
with the, not math, but finances. I grew up where my parents got married early. They didn't know how to manage money. We were never hurting for money, but we weren't wealthy. But they would go out to eat all the time, buy clothes, do stuff. Not any thought toward it. So I am in adulthood. I'm married. I have kids. I own a business. And I'm not good at, and so I always in my head was like, I'm just not good at money. I don't understand it. And then I realized, I can't say that. Like I
run a business.
Right.
That's going to scare Lauren.
I can't give myself the sort of license to just go, I'm not good at it.
Right.
So I had to learn how to be good at it. And I have in later years. So
And in that, Dave, though, when you're using that example of, say, you're naturally good.
Yeah, and
like,
you're going to gravitate toward it. And you're going to,
which obviously that probably isn't. Maybe it is, but like for you,
I'm not naturally good at it.
but you push yourself to be as good as you're gonna.
Right, to be competent in it, to be better at it, and not
just give up,
and not to own this idea that I haven't been, so I can't be, and I'm not good. Like just that's the fixed mindset. It's the stopper. It's just like, I'm not. What are you going to do? I mean, when you hear people, we hear this too professionally. Some people are just like, oh, I'm not good at public speaking. It's like, well, maybe not, but that's something you can get better at,
practice,
right? Or I'm not good at fill in the whatever the thing is. If it's something that is important to your life or to your profession or whatever, most things are things that improve with effort.
Yeah.
But if you mentally have this idea that this is how I am, end of conversation,
And this is as good as it gets.
right? Then that's going to be a self-fulfilling prophecy. It will just be that.
Right.
Yeah. That's helpful.
Yeah. So, but the point also from the Gallup part is that you don't have to be good at all things. You can be really good at a few things if you invest in those things. Some people just figure out, look, this is what I'm good at, and let me orchestrate my career and my life in a way that enhances that, and then get other people to kind of fill in
around
which
we were talking about earlier as well.
We were, There's certain things that Laura and I have similar strengths and similar weaknesses, so we've had to find people that fill in some of the weaker areas professionally. Yeah. Right. So that's cool. But the thing I'm super fascinated with this conversation is, all right, how do you all see this in terms of application for living out
our faith
and kind of the living in a community of faith and all that? Where's your mind go to with this?
All over the map. I think it's actually integral into growth. If one is going to, back up, just
that was the sound effect for
backing
backing up.
Yes.
Beep,
Yeah.
beep, beep.
I have to interpret Kevin.
That's actually the sound effect of something backing up. And I appreciate that, Sam. That's very helpful.
Yeah.
As opposed to the noise I made.
Right.
The toot.
Yeah. Thank you, Lauren. Now we've got it all clear.
Just say it.
Just say it. I was actually raised into a fixed mindset around faith.
Yeah.
That's where I was going to start, and I didn't start there. But it is a destination idea.
Yeah.
And once you understand the basics, once you understand, I pray this, I repent of my sins, I see the need I have for Jesus, I pray a prayer, I've now entered into this place where I'm safe and I'm going to heaven and
Kind of the end.
Yeah.
That's
it.
it.
I made it.
Bo.
You're right. Yeah.
There it is.
Yeah.
And so that anything that challenged that became difficult.
Yes.
I don't know how else to say that.
You're on it.
It became mentally challenging.
Yes.
Like, okay, if you're saying that there's more to it than this, that's not what I was told. That's not what I was taught, and it's not what I believe. And so I either had to protect my understanding of my fixed mindset on this package, or I had to entertain the idea that I was wrong, or that even the people that told me this were wrong, and there was just this, and so that long list of things when I was younger was like, I'm not going down that path.
Yeah.
I'm just going to keep the thing with the bow on it. And so, which stagnates everything, which eliminates curiosity, which shrinks God, which does a lot of things that makes God very controllable.
So good.
Yeah. So anyway,
That's our clip right there. Listen to that, folks. Yes, that's it.
that's how I grew up.
What would you?
Very similar. I mean, like I feel, it was this kind of once you've arrived, that's it, and I don't want to be challenged. And I think for me, some of like going like through school and then doing music and being in lots of different environments, those things started to get kind of challenged, like the fixed ideas. And so for me, I think that I started walking through some of those like almost one at a time. The things that were fixed around that to go, okay, can I get curious about this? It was always very scary because everything was hell. It was like if you question this, well,
fear's a
there's
good
devil
driver,
waiting. It
man.
totally is.
Yeah.
And so fear, I think, kept me at least spiritually in a fixed mindset for a long time.
Right.
You know.
Yeah. What ultimately jolted me to the point where I was like, okay, I got to do something different was at 19, my 21-year-old brother died in an accident. And it wasn't just that he died in an accident. We were doing spiritual things when this happened. We were at, and I actually watched him die. So there's some trauma attached to that.
Yeah, big time.
And there's also like, wait a minute. This isn't how this works. This doesn't fit
the
into
calculation.
There's no way to force it in there.
Yeah.
And so I had to rethink the whole thing.
The math didn't add up. Huh?
No, and it took a couple of years for me to sort it out.
Well, what's interesting is kind of similar is through my mom's
I'm still
cancer
sorting it
journey
out.
was a part of where I saw that some of the things that were always even in her and in our family, start to shift and get curious around or to approach differently. And so through really hard is where
I think
some of my curiosity.
Pain was a driver away from, this isn't just a neat little package, and this isn't the world isn't a safe place, and there was a lot to it.
Yeah. So, and could you see this being helpful just in discipleship with people where even if they have an addiction to pornography or if they're, struggling with their prayer life or anything, I feel like there is a sect of Christianity that would say like, once you're a believer, that should go away. Now stop.
Yeah.
And
Stop it.
Instead, maybe seeing it as maybe it's okay for it to be a path and it not be so black and white, and to say, I'm not good at this yet. I haven't completely been able to follow Jesus in this way yet, but I'm getting there. I'm getting better at it. Is that helpful? Not helpful? I don't know.
That's our invitation, is when people show up at Journey, it's not like you have to have it all figured out and align with it. We understand that everybody's in their journey, no pun intended, and kind of that unique path, and that for some people it might be I met Jesus and I quit smoking, drinking, blah, whatever, and then for other people it might be like it takes some time. It's a journey,
or it not just takes time, but it's up and down and backward and forward, and
it's kind of
very
like golf.
meandering.
2 steps.
It's like
forward,
Kevin's golf
4
game.
steps
It is.
back. Yeah.
It's awful.
Yeah.
I think part of what we've tried to do over the last few years is explain what we call center set church. We were raised. I mean, I think you were too.
Yeah.
In a
Most of us.
bounded
Yeah.
in a bounded community of this is the boundary line. This is how you know if you're in or not in. This is what you pray, you get baptized, you're part of the inner circle. You've moved from death to life, and there's this fence kind of thing around the community that says we know who's in and we know who's out, which is a fallacy in many ways. No, it's just you don't.
Yeah.
You just don't.
Yeah.
You think people are on the inside and you don't, and they're not. And there's people on the outside going, yeah, and they're on the inside. Anyway, all this to say is that we've focused on this idea that it's a process of being orientated toward Jesus.
Right.
And getting towards that, we're more interested in not how close you're there, or if you're on one side of a boundary or on the other side of the boundary, but are you oriented towards moving towards Jesus? This is the growth mindset says, okay, but there's this obstacle in the way. There's this obstacle, and the question isn't how do I hurdle that obstacle, but how do I work through it? How do I develop my relationship with Jesus in such a way that it moves me closer rather than further away? But we as humans, this is our, there's a shiny something over here that gets our attention, and we orientate that way. And we find in us things like, we call it retirement goals. It's actually, it could be more defined as greed.
Yeah.
Or hoarding, or we find things like family to be our place, and we call that family. Well, it's our security, it's our safe place, it's our and there's this double-edged thing that goes with that. It's like, well, yeah, they'll keep me safe. Well, in reality, they can't. You think they can, but they can't. And so part of the discovery that goes on in this orientation towards Jesus is this movement that says, oh, safety's here. Safety's with Jesus. But how do I get there? Well, I have to throw off a lot of the things that I thought would make me safe.
Feels like this way of viewing faith too would invite people into deeper community. If it's a process of change and we're always growing as believers, to me it feels like there's much more purpose for the church and this sort of reason that Christianity is supposed to be communal. Because if it's just check, you're saved, the end, why even be part of a community? What's the point if you
there isn't,
especially when it's check, you're saved and nothing's changed. Right.
Yeah.
It's just like it's still like
Yeah, that was the confusing part.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
Wait a minute.
Yeah.
Well, the only thing that changed was just pretending, right?
Right.
Or to lie about it. Often.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm a Jesus follower.
Yeah. I love that the idea of growth mindset is baked into the name of Journey. That's growth mindset.
Yeah.
And I actually think this is so central, this topic. And I know we're kind of imposing psychology concepts onto faith, but I think it's so important.
They interplay.
I do too. I think
for sure. That's why we're
that's why we do this.
Right. Exactly.
Yeah.
But I will say that one of the most destructive parts of where our branch of the church has been.
Yeah. Bad religion.
If
If you want to know, that's a series we just got through.
is this idea that you pray this prayer and then you're good, and then you're good. That's just the end of the
live any way you want.
Right.
And
it does not invite people, like Lauren's saying, into true growth as a human, spiritually, emotionally, relationally. It doesn't invite people into community.
No.
It's just like, okay, I did the thing.
I actually think it short circuits.
I think it does
that.
exactly
It does
that.
the opposite.
It does the opposite. So it's been immensely destructive to the faith. And so this idea that it's like, it's not just about, do I check the box?
Right.
It's really about, am I in a process of growth in all these important areas?
right.
And it's the mindset of that's actually good, not that that's a failing or a bad thing,
Right.
Right. That's the key part we need to say is that when you have a growth mindset and you see an area whether you mentioned patience or
Right.
forgiveness or whatever it
Yeah.
is, and you're like, I struggle with that. I'm
Yeah.
not good at that. That's actually good to say, I'm not there and I aspire and I'm going to work at it. That's the beauty of this.
Well, and that's the beauty of, I think, what I'm experiencing in our community is it's not hiding behind a veil of perfection.
Yeah.
It's not like I screwed this up.
Yeah.
Like, and then we are able to kind of come around one another in those ways.
So I could see how a critic of this, right, of saying like how might growth mindset work in the church might say, well, couldn't this go the other direction? You know, if you're saying the path to Jesus is this trying and all of that, might people use that as a way to get away with something, right? So I'm thinking of a bigger example of like unfaithfulness in your marriage. That someone might say, you can't just always say, well, I'm trying. And it's not, you know, I don't know. I feel like
I've met some people that have said, I'm trying.
That's
I'm
usually
trying, but
Try harder.
Yeah, I
and
could
stop that.
Yeah, I'm always thinking about, what would the critic of this say? It's like,
Sure.
could it be used in another way to?
I could hear the
not
critic
make
on
real
both
change?
sides. I could hear the critic on both
Yeah.
sides saying, well, wait a minute. You're saying then how I actually am saved is through works.
Right. Yeah.
That I'm working at this. And then the critic on the other side is saying, yeah, but if I don't do it well, I should be forgiven. So it's the imposition upon grace that says, I'm trying here.
Yeah.
You know, quit judging me. And the other side of that is, yeah, but you're saying if I do these things that I'm showing somehow that I'm saved. And the answer to the question actually is the same. The answer to both of those questions is the same, is our interaction with Jesus starts a process. You're never finished. And this is part of what I loved about my deep dive into the YouTube thing, is that the growth process is never finished. There's always something else. You're not a done product at any point.
Yeah, you don't arrive at some
Right.
place.
Yeah.
You're like, well, here I am.
Here I am.
Yeah.
I made
The end.
it. I'm perfect. I no longer sin. I no longer do this. I no longer, right? And so, yeah, grace abounds to us. But we don't impose upon grace because grace was purchased at an enormous price. And it was a call to something different. It was to not just say have a laissez-faire approach to immoralism, and just go, yeah, I participate in those things, but I'm forgiven. That's like a biggest slap in the face to Jesus that you could do. Like, yeah, and I know that's wrong, but I know Jesus will forgive me because he died for my sins. Think about that for just a minute, and you begin to realize the extreme expense that God went to.
I'm at Bonhoeffer right now. It's like cost of discipleship, and that's what that grace is not cheap. Grace
It's not.
was
It's
very costly.
Really, really
you know?
expensive.
Yeah.
I mean, purchased with love and the whole
right.
thing, and does actually allow for you to impose upon and take advantage of and do all those things. But it says more about you than it does about God.
Yeah.
And then on the other side of that is it's not the works that save you. It's the response to what God has already done that you do the things you do. And people get this. It's a struggle. Yeah, it is. It really is. But that's a great question. There's so much more about this to talk about.
I know.
I know that we're running. What are we at? About 40 minutes. Yeah, we probably need to put a bow on it. But I want to come back to this idea next time, and come back to it from the perspective of scarcity. I want to talk about that because I in my deep dive, I'm like, oh no,
Kevin is
just giddy. Sending me YouTube.
He is just wound up about it.
I never knew that there was so many different YouTubes out there, but
because he's been
YouTube?
living
this is on YouTube
on a remote
He just got
island.
a smartphone.
No, see, what I
flip
use
phone.
YouTube for is how do I fix my car?
Yeah, that's true.
How do
Fair
I fix
enough.
my sink? How do I fix something I don't know how to fix? Growth mindset. So that I can not call somebody and pay money. All that to say this is that the environment in which you sit affects how you see things and the fixed mindset. And I saw it in myself. That was the thing that I went, oh, I do that. I do that.
Let's pick it up.
Okay.
Yeah.
Good deal.
This was great.
Yeah.
Good.
Thanks,
Fun
guys.
Thank you, guys.
And thanks, Grant, for throwing this our way.
Yeah.
Grant is like the guy that does the show notes.
Secret agent.
Cool.
Yeah.
He sits behind. It's like the Great Oz.
yeah.
He is.
No one's ever seen
he's
him.
the banker.
but yeah.
He's the banker on what's that one show? Deal or No Deal.
Right.
You never see him. He's just back there, like, here's the offer. You know?
Yeah.
Yeah. And with that,
Yeah.
chew on that for a week.
Yes.
Thanks for listening to this episode of Journey on My Mind. If you enjoyed it, please help us spread the word by leaving us a review and sharing it on your social media. Journey on My Mind is a production of Journey Church in Brentwood, Tennessee. Edwin Rivera III is the show's producer, with technical assistance from Randy Hansen. Grant Opperman edits the show. If you have a suggestion for a future topic or a question, you can text us at 615-861-9503. And if you would like to talk to someone about spiritual or mental health issues, you can email our care pastor, Sam Barnhart, at sam@journeytn.com.